This is the Good Neighbor Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Jeff Gardner.
Welcome to another episode of the Good Neighbor Podcast. Today we have another good neighbor on, Alessia Lamonaca of New Mode Home. Alessia, welcome to the show.
Hi, nice to meet you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We are excited to have a conversation with you, to learn about you and to learn about New Mode Home. So I think that's a great place to start. What is New Mode Home? What do you do, Alessia?
Yeah, so we're based out of Barrie, Ontario. We are a leading interior decorating and staging firm that specializes in creating beautifully functional interiors for both residential and commercial clients. We offer virtual and full service options to cater to the diverse budgets and needs of our clients. And we're really just on a mission to simplify the interior decorating process and make well-designed spaces more accessible to everyone.
Wow, you said that so flawlessly. It's like you've said it before.
I say it a lot, yeah.
That came off so well. And is this your business, Alessia?
It is, yeah.
Okay. So I find a big part of this whole podcast experience that we're going through is to really learn about humans. I mean, humans do business, but it starts with humans. Mm-hmm. And I think, human potential is one of the things that I study the most. I find human beings and our limits or our lack thereof is fascinating. So a part of that is the storytelling. Like, what's the story behind it? Why do people do what they do? So what brought you to starting your own business? As entrepreneurship is very difficult. Mm-hmm. And I have a lot of respect for anybody who does it. Not to say that there's anything wrong with being employees. I just do think that entrepreneurship is a bit of a harder path. So I have a great deal of respect for that. And what led you to interior design?
Yeah. So my path into interior design was not a straight line by any means. Growing up, I had a lot of different creative hobbies. I really loved photography. I did some acting. I taught myself graphic design in high school. So I kind of dabbled in a bunch of different things, but I ended up going to film school and I worked in a variety of different creative industries before I ended up in corporate marketing. And I rose up quickly and I had a lot of success kind of in that corporate world, but it really all kind of changed for me after I purchased my first home. I'd always been really fascinated by beautiful interiors, and I would save photos of spaces that inspired me. And I created digital mood boards all the time for fun, well before I even had a place of my own. So when I finally had an opportunity to decorate my own home, I was really excited by that idea. And I found myself just totally becoming obsessed with the process. And then one night, kind of during the pandemic, I sat on my couch and I started the New Mode Home Instagram account from scratch. And with, the intent of it was to post inspiration and just share my own decorating journey. But I started getting messages from people in my network that were asking for help in their own spaces. They're like, "Hey, you're really good at this. Do you mind kind of helping us out with our space?" So there was that. And then I think I also started to kind of recognize that the market had changed. I think millennials like me can barely even kind of afford a home, let alone an interior designer. So, but at the same time, they still needed help pulling their space together. So I saw a gap in the market that I could fill. And today the business has really evolved into a full service firm. And in addition to kind of our primary decorating services, we've also introduced staging services. So we'll help realtors and sellers enhance, their property listings. We also help architects, builders, and other designers with things like 3D rendering and styling for photo shoots. So it's kind of a mix of different creative things as I do. But I will say that I've always been passionate just about storytelling. So it's interesting that you brought that up. It's, I think, part of the reason I studied film. It's why I got into marketing. I was really helping brands convey their brand message, and now in assisting homeowners in telling their own personal stories through their home. So to me, it's always also been about, design is not about art. It's really about storytelling and solving a problem. And if you can make it look really beautiful, then that I think is an added bonus. But ultimately, I think I'm really driven by my desire to just think big and bring big ideas to life. And, at the heart of it, my goal is to create timeless spaces and livable spaces that inspire and delight our clients. And it's been a really incredible journey so far. And I'm grateful every day to do what I love and to share it with the world.
I love it. And I can hear the passion in your voice behind it.
Yeah.
So many of our guests that come on the show, entrepreneurs really love what they do. But I like that you bring up the storytelling part. I mean, art in a way is a form of communication for us.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's an extension of our being in a way. And not all of us know how to communicate that way. I certainly do not.
Yeah.
So I need to go to people that are experts to teach me how to communicate, just like I would learn how to a new language, or fitness for me is now I get to learn about my body more, and the way I design my house. And so I love that you're doing that and have the full service suite for people. We have many real estate agents that work with us, and I know that stagers and interior design is a big factor in that.
Absolutely.
Helping getting the house look beautiful. But really what I'm trying to touch on is it's more, it goes deeper than just designing walls right inside your house. It has deeper meaning than that, is what you're saying. And I love when there's a more meaningful, what's the way I want to say this? It's really impactful for me when there is a deeper meaning to what on the surface looks like doesn't have a deeper meaning.
Correct.
And people can find their purpose through that and really impacting other people's lives. It's great.
Yeah, it's about being, obviously you want it to be sophisticated, but it's also about being practical, right? You want your space to function the way that you need it to, whether it's your business or your home. So that's kind of what is kind of driving it for me.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. Our environments, they're special places, right?
Absolutely.
You spend so much time in them, make them your own, make them fit for your own life.
Yeah.
So something that is important on this show is quality information. My information inside my head dictates the decisions that I'm about to make. If that information inside my head is inaccurate or of poor quality, then I'm probably going to be making poor quality decisions.
Yeah.
So we talk about myths and misconceptions on the show. Is there myths and misconceptions for everything pretty much out there? Finding the right information is difficult, especially in this age. Some people call it the information age. You go back 100 years and it was hard to gather information. Now, 100 years later, it's not hard to gather information. It's hard to gather correct information. So what kind of myths and misconceptions come to mind for you regarding your industry that we could help clarify for the audience?
Yeah, I love that. I think the biggest one that I hear a lot is that you need to be wealthy or have a huge budget to hire a decorator. And, we really believe that anyone can build the space of their dreams with a budget of virtually any size. The truth is, it's really just about understanding where to kind of pinch pennies and where to splurge a little bit for the biggest impact. And, sometimes you might need to consider slightly reducing the scope of the project or maybe eliminate a thing or two. But I always like to kind of tell my clients that I spend their money like it's my own. And if I can come in under budget, then I always will. And if they don't know what a realistic budget is and where to start, we can definitely help them figure that out. And then another myth that I hear a lot is that decorating can be done quickly, kind of like you see on TV. And in reality, it often kind of takes weeks or even months to complete, depending on the scope of the project. It definitely involves careful planning and decision-making. You have to source materials and coordinate with contractors and vendors, and all of that stuff really does take time. So I often kind of see people who kind of rush to fill their homes with furniture to just kind of get it done. And they'll go and purchase, a set from a big box store instead of thoughtfully planning it out and taking their time to kind of source pieces that they really love. And then they'll come to me a year later with regrets most of the time. And then I guess the last one I would say is that, a lot of people think it's just too expensive to hire a decorator. And while, hiring a decorator is an investment, most of the time it actually ends up costing clients more if they don't hire someone. And people are shocked when I say that, but we tend to not realize how much it actually costs to decorate a home, because when we do it ourselves, we do it really slowly. So when we hear a number in a lump sum, there's typically kind of sticker shock, and it can tend to deter people. But they end up spending the same or more doing it out on their own. So, without a plan, they typically go over budget, they make costly mistakes, they waste money and time kind of going and running and doing returns on the weekend. So, and not to mention, they also don't consider the cost of their own time and the stress of doing it themselves. So I think it's important to consider how much that's worth to you.
I love that you said that last part there. I mean, I appreciate all the answers, but time and stress. So I'm at the point in my life where my day to day, I'll start with this. Time is the most valuable thing in my life. Time and attention. If I don't have attention, I guess my time isn't worth a whole lot. What am I focusing on? But time and attention, two really the most important things in my life. And I'm not getting any more time. And time is very much out of my control. Don't know if I'll get any more time come tomorrow.
Right.
So my day is quite organized. And I've been living this life for a number of years now, going on about 10 or so. So even if there is, when I'm making a decision to hire an expert or to hire somebody that I could do, like I could decorate my house, doesn't mean it's going to be good at all. It's probably going to be bad, but I could get it to the point of livability, whereas I could not build a house. Like that's an automatic. I can't build a car, so I have to get somebody to buy a car. Can't build a house, so I have to get somebody to buy a house. But I could put paintings on the wall. I got a couple things here and there. And I guess you could call that decorating, some blinds, some pillows, things like that.
Right.
But if it's important to me and I want to decorate it in a certain way, my first thought is going to be, who can I hire to reduce my time and my stress? Because my time is worth more to me than the $1,000, the $2,000, or whatever it is, if this is a priority to me. A perfect example in my world is I've been a fitness trainer for 20 years. I still do it a little bit on the weekends here and there for some hockey teams and some of my friends. But when I was a fitness trainer full time at a gym that I ran, I had my own trainer. Just even though I knew the plans and I knew how to go to the gym and I was in pretty good shape, just do it for me so I don't have to think about it because my day is packed. I also had a nutritionist. Again, I was teaching my own clients about their nutrition and building plans for them. So it wasn't a lack of knowledge. It was how valuable is my time to me? So all throughout these periods right now, business is good. I have a business coach. Marketing is good. I have a marketing coach, just so that they're there helping me get more out of my time. And it seems like a redundancy to people. If you're already good at this thing, why would you hire somebody to help you with it? I would ask you, how much do you value your time and calmness of mind? Because when I am calm in my mind, and my emotions aren't overly stressed and anxiety isn't in there, I make better decisions. And it's always led to me getting closer to the things that I want in life. So I'm really happy that you pointed that last part out. Time and stress. Is money worth more than time and stress to you? My answer will always be, it doesn't even compare.
Right. Exactly. And there's a bunch of people that, some people love the process of decorating and some people just hate it and get decision fatigue. And, even I'll be honest, myself, like,
that's me.
It's funny, I can do it so well for other people, but when it comes to myself, sometimes it's hard to make decisions. So, I just I'm all over the place. So, I follow my own process and all that, but, so I think it's that. I think having someone else kind of lead you through that process is really helpful and valuable.
Yeah, they just narrow your path. And I absolutely agree. I have more coaches and experts now in my life than I've ever had. And I would argue that, I'm enjoying my life better than I have. And that is one of the, if somebody said, how is it you went from this place 10 years ago to here now? What is one of the key ingredients? I would say it's the experts in my life. They all cost money. Absolutely. I don't want them to do it for free, but they have helped me get to the next spot. And I would say that some of the most successful people out there that we think of, if you think of influencers or some way, or business moguls, they have expert help. All of them do. And if they're so focused on bottom line, they wouldn't be spending money on people if it wasn't important, if it didn't make their situation more valuable. So I'm really happy you pointed that out because I absolutely agree.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I could cut my own grass. I get somebody to cut it because that's an extra 3 hours I get a week.
Exactly.
Period.
Yeah.
So outside of the business, what did you get up to for fun?
Yeah, it's
side of things.
Yeah, it's funny you asked that actually, because I feel like toward the end of my marketing career, when I was feeling really unsatisfied in my role, I was kind of deciding, okay, what's next for me? And I read a quote, and don't quote me on this, I don't know if it's exact, but it said something along the lines of, to figure out what you want to do in life, look to the things that you do for fun. And I am just obsessed with consuming design related content. I watch videos and shows, I read books, I listen to podcasts. I'm just constantly learning about the industry and learning how to be a better designer. And I love looking at beautiful spaces also to just kind of help train my eye, and I always have. So surprisingly, that's really how I spend a lot of my free time. And I think that really speaks to how much I really love what I do. Um, but I would say, like, aside from that, I would typically on a weekend, you can kind of find my partner and I out, at a local new restaurant or out and about supporting different local businesses. And I also really love to travel. I was actually just in Los Angeles and in Montreal last month. So I would say, exploring new places is typically kind of where I get a lot of my inspiration for my work. So I try to do that as often as I can.
I love it. Any recommendations for traveling? As pretty much every guest that comes on the show says, we love traveling. I just think there is so much to be said. We live in this little world, so-called Simcoe County. Most of our experiences come within that world. And then you go over to Europe and you're like, this is a whole new planet. Or then you go over to Southeast Asia, completely foreign new world. And I think it's just so enriching for us humans to see these different sides of life. I think it makes us more aware, just better people. So what do you got for recommendations for travel, Alessia?
I would say I try every time I go somewhere new to try to experience it as best I can as a local. So I tend to be on Google a lot, looking up before my trip, where to go and where people kind of spend time, and try to avoid tourist traps. At first, maybe if it's the first time you've gone there, maybe you can't do that and you want to go see the Eiffel Tower or whatever. But, if you have been there before, ideally maybe skip that and go do something different that you haven't done before. So I think it just really allows you to kind of open up your world and see a bunch of different things.
So explore newness.
Yeah.
That's essentially what you're saying. I love it. So one of the, I think, most important questions on this show is we talk about doing hard things. I'll often let people know that I have all my rules for life listed on my skin here to help remind me of who I want to be, especially in those emotionally chaotic moments. I think it's easier to perform well when everything's going well, but how do you perform when shit hits the fan, kind of thing? So I have them on my skin to remind me. It's like, okay, I'm kind of being a dick right now. That's what I need to do.
Yeah.
So one of those things is do hard things. I think human beings, we have this anti-fragility about us. And simply what that means is, when I apply pressure to a plate of glass, eventually I will break through that glass, making it fragile. But if I apply pressure to a muscle, it will grow stronger and more resilient. I think the same is true about ourselves. I think the same is true about our brain. So if we're constantly seeking comfort, I don't know that it's the most growth productive place for us.
Yeah,
I think a lot of the people that come on the show, all being entrepreneurs, so they've all chosen a hard path, yourself included. I think a lot of us would agree that some of the most pivotal moments in our life are the most challenging.
Yeah.
And we want to be a part of that trend that highlights these challenging moments as not something to be ashamed about. You go on social media and it's this perfect, polished world, which a lot of us don't resonate with because life isn't perfect. And then you go on the news, another heavily watched and consumed form of media, and it's all salacious and negative. So we get opposite ends of this spectrum. Whereas if we just got better at presenting reality as it is, maybe we would learn to connect with ourselves and other people a bit more.
Absolutely.
So that's the context. So I'd like to ask you, are there any trials and tribulations, life hardships that you've been through that probably felt pretty shitty in the moment? Because our body lets us know this is a hard thing. This doesn't feel good. But when you look back in hindsight, you wouldn't pull that experience out of the recipe that is you, because it helped you lead a better life, help you enjoy your life more as you do now.
Yeah, definitely. There were a couple of things. In university, I co-founded a tech startup with my mom, actually. And, that was kind of an interesting experience for sure. It taught me a lot. It didn't end up kind of going to plan the way that we had hoped. At the time, it was just a mix of different things that happened. But that was kind of first, my introduction to entrepreneurship. And second, it was kind of the first hard thing that happened in my life. The second, as I kind of went through university, I graduated. I got like my dream job out of university as an assistant producer for a production company, and I was loving my job, and I was laid off, and that was really hard. And it ended up happening 2 more times in my 12-year marketing career. So that was really hard, a hard pill to swallow at the time. And it was hard not to take that personally and, think that it had something to do with me, even though they were like, we just don't have money for you right now. Or, there were a variety of different reasons it happened. But despite all of that, I ended up working my way into a direct role before I turned 30. I got nominated actually for the Forbes 30 under 30 list when I didn't ultimately make that list, but it was a really huge moment for me. But at the same time, while that was happening, I wasn't feeling creatively fulfilled in my role. So in a way, I kind of took those layoffs as a sign. It was like the universe was kind of telling me, you're not really supposed to be doing this. This isn't for you. And it was difficult for me when I was dealing with all of it, but it definitely made me more resilient as a result. So I think going back to that startup, I really just had that entrepreneurial bug, and I knew that I would eventually be working for myself. So that last layoff, I think, is really when I decided to just invest in myself and commit to the business full time.
Okay, so that lines up in my head. I think I interpreted that correctly, but I want to make no assumptions. So I want to ask you, through these hard things, what were some key takeaways, things that you learned, things that you can say, for sure, this hard thing led to me learning this, which made me a more valuable version of myself?
Yeah. The first thing was really it was really hard not to take it personally. So I think it was just understanding, sometimes these things happen, you can't control everything. And you just got to kind of move forward and keep pushing yourself and keep going, through the hard stuff. And eventually you'll come out on the other end of it probably better than where you were at. And then I would say, in terms of becoming sort of like an entrepreneur, I knew that was going to be a risk to kind of do it again. I'd already, not really been able to do it successfully the first time. But really, for me, it was about the passion kind of overtook that. And I guess it was in a way easy because I had sort of been doing it part-time while I was working. So I did have a bit of a model set up and a process for it. And I had proven that it was possible. So that made it a little bit easier for me for sure. But, I would definitely say it's nice to kind of, if you can, maybe dip a toe in and then, and then make the leap. Cause some people can do it really successfully. But a lot of people will go, 100%, they'll just quit their job and like hope for the best. And, I think it's important to kind of do it a little bit more slowly if you have the opportunity to.
Let me ask you, would you ever go back to being an employee after knowing what you know now?
Ideally not, but you never know. It's not, I don't think that it's for me. But I can do it, and I've proven to myself that I can. But ideally, I love my business, and I would hate to not be doing it anymore.
Now, are you a solo entrepreneur? Is there a team of people that are working with you?
It is just me right now. I sometimes do kind of work with other freelancers and things like that for assistance, but yeah, it is just me at the moment.
Love it. Thank you for sharing that with us. These are important stories for people to hear. I am on to my fourth business. Each one has got more successful than the last. The first one was fitness, went pretty well. It was small. So I was just entering it. So I chalk it up as a very valuable experience for me. It wasn't incredibly profitable, but we did okay. I was able to sell it. My second business was horrible. So it's like normally it gets better each time after the next.
Right.
Not always the case. Second business was horrible. HVAC, it was a brutal experience, but I really needed that punch in the gut to remind me why I was doing what I was doing. I was chasing money then. I left the fitness world because I wanted to make more money. It wasn't about impacting people. I was more selfish then. And it just kicked my ass. And then came out of that and gone into the marketing world and then counseling at the addiction facility, kind of 2-in-1.
Wow.
Much more focused on human beings. And for anybody out there thinking that selflessness isn't a good business model, it can be very good and it's very fulfilling too. So
Absolutely. That's part of the reason I started too. I love helping people, and I wasn't able to do that in my job. So it's a great mix of, helping people, being creative, and like all the things that I really love doing.
yeah, it's amazing when you can align your values with who you want to be in the world and attach that in some way to impacting others. When you
Mhm.
can get those two things, this is the person that I want to be, and through that person, I can help these people reach their goals or become the people they want to be. It's an amazing sweet spot that not everybody gets to. It sounds like you are there, and it's just a very rare thing.
It is.
And it comes through in your speech when you're talking about your work. You've had a
Thank
smile
you.
on your face pretty much the whole episode.
Yeah, I do love it for sure.
So if you could distill all the learnings that you've had, all the value that you have about your business in your head for us people that don't know much about interior design down into
Mhm.
one statement that
Okay.
you would want our audience to know about you and your business, what would that be?
Ooh. Um, I guess I would want people to know that I intentionally really built the business to be virtual first. And while we're absolutely able to take on local full service projects, I've also really developed a process around virtual design so that no matter what your proximity is to us, we're able to help you really seamlessly from anywhere. And I think I take like a unique kind of approach to some of the visualizations that I do. I'm a really highly visual person, and I need to see and understand how all of the elements of a room are going to work together to make a really informed decision. And I think a lot of other people are like that too. So when I present my work, it's in a way that really helps clients visualize the final result in the most realistic way. Um, so yeah, and I think it's just important that, all of that is considered and that my clients are able to truly visualize the final result and take all of that guesswork out of the equation. And I think that's what really sets us apart.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. This is my favorite question. And I don't put it in the questionnaire because I don't want people to script it.
Yeah.
So I talk about, honestly, just a few things in life. The people who know me, clients, people on this podcast, friends, family. I found myself studying many different things to try to find my interest. Over time, I found my interest. It distilled down to a handful of things. So philosophy, psychology, mentorship,
Yeah.
entrepreneurship, health and fitness, human connection. And where this is going is kind of intertwined two of those passions of mine. Through mentorship, I talk about a fair bit. I think there's a great quote: behind every excellent person, there's an excellent teacher. I think all of us were raised by a village. Some of us were raised by an entire country because we needed so much help, myself included,
Yeah.
well more than a village. Great people in my life. But a mentor who's had the most impact on me, I met her in my early 20s, now 37. So we're talking almost 14 years ago. And she encouraged me to think about my impact in the most simplest sense. I'm born, I'm going to die one day. That is true. I don't know when that's coming. So what do I want to be my net impact on this planet? Positive, negative? Do I even think about it? Does everybody think about it? I don't know. It's something I think about a lot.
Yeah.
So I like to ask you, is it Alessia or Alessia?
Alessia.
Alessia. Okay, good. Because that is how it's spelling to me. So Alessia, I'd like to ask you, and this doesn't have to be legacy because a lot of people take this legacy. I don't really care about legacy because I'm going to be dead then. So I'm not
Yeah.
even going to know. I want a specific type of impact now while I'm alive to see the fruits of that impact, see if I can impact other people and myself. So Alessia, I'd like to ask you, what would you like your impact to be?
I think, well, obviously, creating beautiful, inspiring spaces that people can enjoy is definitely part of that. And I think it's also a mix of the things that I've already said, but, the storytelling aspect and,
Mhm.
Also being able to kind of make design more accessible to people and, allow people who think that maybe I can't afford that or I can't have a nice space because it's too much money. I want everyone to be able to live in a space or work in a space that they really love.
Yeah, I think that's great. I mean, as I was saying at the beginning, it's something that I didn't value quite as much as I do now. Just you don't know what you don't know. I didn't think environment had such a great impact on me, but now, I look around this space and I have, awards that really make me proud of myself. My books, those are my answers to life kind of things. I have my gym right beside me. So unintentionally, I put these things near me that meant so much to me. So now if you came into my environment, you could say, okay, this is what this guy values. Yeah. It's an extension of who I am. I am in a way without knowing it, because I'm not a very artistic person in the traditional sense, communicating with myself and the people that come in here, but it's also my sanctuary. Like this is my space that is very comfortable for me. And I just didn't know that environments had such a big impact. Yeah. I thought it was like, if I make it fancier, it can be more valuable. I could sell it for more, but it's more like, no, I'm living here. Yeah. I don't know how long I'm going to be in this place or on this planet. So why not create an environment that is special to you?
Yeah, it's important to surround yourself with things that you love, about your accomplishments. And there's been studies that have shown that, it can have an impact on mental health. There's so much you can do with design, and it's not just about, creating a beautiful space.
Yeah, no, I believe it. I'm a big follower of a couple different types of philosophy. One of them is Buddhist, and they talk about your environment being an extension of your mind. If you have a chaotic mind, you probably have a chaotic environment. If you clean up your environment, it could be the thing that leads to having a more calm mind, which is one of my main things. Stress, I don't like it. We need some of it, but not too much of it. So having that calm environment is a high priority to me. I love that your impact is so rooted in helping other people. Mm-hmm. It really is something to commit our lives to living a good life. I don't think we should live for other people always, but to consider how we impact other people and how we can help them. You're making the world a better place, little by little, connecting one person after the other. I think it's great. How can people find out about you?
Yeah.
What's the best way to connect?
They can follow us across social media. Our handle is New Mode Home. We're also, on, we're on all the social media platforms. So Instagram, TikTok, etc. We're always posting inspiration and updates there. But they can also visit our website, newmodehome.com, or they can email us info@newmodehome.com. And on the site, you can kind of book a free discovery call and kind of discuss your next project with us. So we'd love to hear from you.
So that call is free. So they can reach out to you and just start a conversation and learn some things.
Yeah. Absolutely. I prefer when it's scheduled because it's easier to kind of prepare for it. But I'm open to even phone calls. There's a number on our site as well if you want to give us a call that way as well. So yeah, there's different ways you can get in touch.
Yeah, no. So it wasn't the scheduling or not scheduling. What I meant was that people can reach out to you and learn more information without spending that dollar right away. They can connect with you, get used to you. As some businesses charge right from the gate. If you want to talk to me, it's $100 an hour in some cases. So I love that you do that. It provides less friction for people getting to know you and your business and learning some things and how it can impact their life.
Yeah, we can kind of get to know each other, and I can understand a little bit more about what they're looking for to make sure it's also a good fit for us too. So it's just a good opportunity to hear more about what they're trying to accomplish and if we're the right fit for them as well.
I love it. Alessia, you have been great to speak to. You speak very eloquently, and you're very efficient with describing what you do. There's a ton of passion behind your words. And I love that you've aligned with I love that you've aligned with what you want to do out in the world with a business that now can help so many people. It's really been great getting to know you and chatting with you today, Alessia.
You as well, Jeff. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. You have a great day.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast Midhurst. To nominate your favorite local businesses to be featured on the show, go to gnpmidhurst.com. That's gnpmidhurst.com or call 705-413-3775.